Kagekid Creative presents
Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen. Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen. Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen. Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen.
Hi, my name is James, aka Kagekid, and you're watching my show, Kagekids Kitchen. If you don't know what my show is yet, I teach you all about my culinary experiences with my culinary school's experience and all of the jobs that I've had afterwards up until this point. So as we're reaching the final lesson of our sandwiches, we wrap up all of the basic lessons that you learned in your first semester of culinary school. We learned how to cut vegetables, make breakfast, cook starches and sauces, poultry, beef, fish, soups, and all sorts of other things in between. But this episode is the sandwich episode, just before we get to our final exam in culinary school also. So after you watch all of the episodes of Kagekids Kitchen, you'll basically know what it's like to go into culinary school for your very first semester, or at the very least what it was like for my very first semester in culinary school. Today we're going to be making a barbecue Chinese pulled chicken steam bun with coleslaw and pickled cucumbers. Alrighty, so the very first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to start with our Chinese steam buns. Here I have some flour and salt, and over here I have my yeast mixture that I've been letting bloom for the past 5 minutes or so. So the very first thing that you want to do is you want to mix together your flour and salt. This gets out all the clumps. You don't really want clumps in your flour. It makes whatever you're making with it extra clumpy. And it also has salt so that you know these buns have some flavor, because you don't want any unflavorful buns. Then, once your flour and salt is mixed together, you're going to take your yeast mixture. Yeast needs two things to rise. It needs something sweet and warm water. So this has been blooming. It's instant dry yeast. It's 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2/3 cup of warm water. Once your dough is together like this, you're going to move your fork around just so that it comes into a complete dough like this. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start kneading it. So once your dough is nice and together, the next thing that you want to do essentially is you want to take off, I would say, about tennis ball size pieces of sorts, and separate them so that they can rise separately. And when they're done, sometimes they are a little bit bigger than this, but I made mine pretty small. I actually made mine way smaller than a tennis ball size just for demonstration purposes. But this is around the size that you want for your steam buns. Once your steam buns are nice and risen, the next thing that you want to do is just kind of reshape them. Sometimes they lose their shape a little bit when you let them rise. And then you want to get them, if you do not have a steamer in your house, you want to get them over a double boiler. So I have water boiling in here, and then right on top, we're going to place these right on top to steam for about 18 to 20 minutes. Once these are already right inside of the pot, we can get started on our chicken. So now that our buns are steaming, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get started on our chicken. All we really have to do for our chicken is really sear it. Right here I have some chicken stock and some Italian seasoning that I'm just going to pour over it, and then it's going to go to a simmer for about 15 minutes until it's nice and soft. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sear our chicken. The chicken was already cleaned, seasoned with salt and pepper. We get that right into here right now. And you don't want to really cook it a long time, you kind of just want to cook it just long enough so that there's that actual sear on both of the sides. And once your chicken is nice and brown on both sides, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our stock marinade and we're going to pour it right into our chicken. And we're going to let that simmer for about 15 to 18 minutes. So now that our chicken is simmering, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to mix up the barbecue sauce for it. We're also going to mix up our coleslaw, and we're also going to get started on our pickled cucumbers as well. So in our barbecue sauce here, we have some ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, liquid smoke, brown sugar, hoisin sauce, hot sauce, paprika, mustard powder, and garlic powder. Next, we have our coleslaw here, which I combined some miso paste, mayonnaise, and vinegar, and salt and pepper, and combined right over our shredded carrots and our shredded red cabbage as well. And last but not least, right over here, we have this pickling solution. So this is salt, vinegar, and water. And all we're really gonna do here, I have a couple of stems of cilantro. I'm gonna put that right into our water over here. Give it a nice fresh taste. And then we're just gonna put our pickles in, and we're gonna let this sit for about 15 minutes while our chicken is done simmering. So before we start making our sandwiches, the very last thing that we have to do, our chicken is nice and soft out of that simmer. You can see all of the flavors that's imparted into the chicken. And all we're gonna do to pull it apart, we have 2 forks here, and you literally wanna start right from the middle, and with your other fork, just tear apart at the chicken the entire way through. And once your chicken is nice and pulled apart, just like so, the next thing you want to do is you want to drown it in that barbecue sauce you just made. And give that a good mix. You want it to be nice and incorporated all over the chicken.
Wait, what did you make? I have no idea what you made.
A barbecue pulled chicken Chinese steamer.
It looks like Sloppy Joe.
Yes.
But it looks exciting.
Let's see.
Okay. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so all that was already like. Wait, what did you make? So, wait, there's a cucumber on there?
You just haven't been paying attention to the whole episode.
I missed most of the episode.
You technically only missed the introduction. You're here for all the cooking.
Very good.
Yeah. So I got a quick pickle in here, which is I took some cucumbers. I very quickly put them in some pickling liquid. Then coleslaw, which I think that probably saw.
Yes.
Okay. And then the pulled chicken is literally the chicken that I'm just eating right now.
Okay.
Together with barbecue sauce.
The barbecue sauce with the oyster sauce, Worcestershire sauce.
Yes.
Yeah, that I remember. Okay. And then you did the buns. Dough? Just okay. That makes sense.
Your standard dough.
I definitely taste like the Chinese inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the barbecue sauce.
A lot of it is in the barbecue sauce. The coleslaw is made specifically with miso paste, which is abnormal. Usually you just put mayonnaise and you call it mayonnaise, vinegar, salt and pepper, and you call it a day. But I added miso paste to it, so that kind of binds everything together as well.
Yeah, I think the barbecue sauce with the coleslaw somehow made it like taste like kimchi and like Chinese, which is really good.
That was kind of what I was going for. So, make a sandwich, make it Asian, but also make it from the down south for some reason.
You just started combining genres.
That's what cooking is all about. No one on TV is going to combine genres like this because it's too unethical, but also that's how you make the best food.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many combination spots in New York City all over the place.
I was about to say, I wonder if combining genres will get you canceled. Is that what people are afraid of?
I feel like yes and no. We have a lot of Asian Mexican fusion spots in the city, which I won't lie, at first I thought was super weird, but also like the more they just literally started popping up all over the place. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm getting a sushi taco today.
But is that experimentation, or is that people not being able to afford New York City rent? Like, which is it? Like, is the Mexicans and the Chinese just like, you know, fuck it, man, we both share a space? The hell are you guys making? What's a taco?
I feel like Takumi taco is literally like
Yeah, 100% we call them Takumi Taco. This episode is brought to you by Takumi Taco.
I'm fucking dead. Just kidding. This we've never been sponsored in all of the episodes of Kagekids Kitchen.
The tomatoes, beets red tomatoes,
The Beats Tomatoes, One Piece,
they're the best sponsors.
Staten Island Barbecue Dads.
Was butter a sponsor?
Butter might have been a sponsor in
Oh,
one
boy.
episode. All the sponsors that we just covered. Alright, overall thoughts on the food?
Very good. I definitely tasted like the fusion, you know, like making it, you know, Asian inspired, and then like some of the southern stuff, you know, making whole chicken. Like the textures were like southern, and all the flavors were like Asian. It's really cool. I think my favorite part of the entire thing was the pickle. Yeah, I don't even like pickles. Like I just want to like put that out there. Like I'm not a pickle fan. Typically pickles roast me out, but I don't know. It was like because it was so thin. It was just like usually pickles are just like too much, and like it's too pickly of a flavor. But when it's light, I'm like, okay, I can go with this.
Yes, quick pickles. Literally, you take cucumbers, you put them in pickling liquid, and you don't keep it in there for longer than that.
You just like in a thin slice of it. I was like, I think I might try a thin slice.
If you can find them, I don't know if they actually sell thin slice pickles.
My horrible experience with pickles. So like, I remember going to the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. I was really young with my dad. And you know those thick, like little, like they're like not the size of like a quarter, but they're like super thick and juicy, like sour, kind of gross, because they've been sitting in like the freezer for God knows how long, that they put inside of like their burgers. So I, for whatever reason, was like, I want a burger from Nathan's. And that's like, all right, buddy, like you're great. Here you go. I was young, so it was like my first burger. I didn't even know what a pickle was. I didn't even see it coming. I threw up at it coming out of that. And I just remember like how bad the pickle was. Yeah, so when I tasted the pickle, I was like, oh, that was pleasant. Like I literally haven't like pickles since. I get my burgers from McDonald's without pickles. I usually like never ask for pickles. Like I've been to that and I'm like, that's good.
To be fair, those pickles are probably sitting around for.
Look, you rescued pickles for me, so I just gotta like give you that. Like,
montage moment of every single time I've rescued somebody from food they didn't like on Kagekids Kitchen.
I didn't even know it was in there. I was just like, that's amazing. That was nice. Like, is that a cucumber? You're like, no, it's a pickle. I'm like, it's so fresh.
Now you know, fresh pickles.
Yeah, it was good. It was good and sour and salty, and it was just like perfect.
Good. Glad to hear that. Just in case, because I totally didn't introduce my guest today. If you don't know this guy, this is Eddie. This is our normal cameraman for Kagekids Kitchen, joining us on our last lesson that we have here. And yeah, I think that's it.
That's it, yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching my 9th episode of Kagekids Kitchen. I hope that you've learned so much with all of the other lessons that we have had up until this point. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.
Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen. Kagekids Kitchen, Kagekids Kitchen.